everybody. My name's Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, so much of our lives, all of our lives, I don't think there's anyone of any race, color, creed, religion, age, who doesn't go through in some way during every day, during every week, during every month, the trials and tribulations of what it is to be a human, the highs, the lows. And again, always there's something in a human being as a giant human family with all its flowers and all its colors and all its seeming differences on the surface. There's a universal hunger to know God, to know the truth, to know that experience. And each one of the religions has at its root love. And the amazing part of all the teachers, the root, the people who came in and all the religions were started from, was there, if you hear people talk about them, they might have had trials and tribulations in their lives. But ultimately what people said about them is they're incomprehensible in a way. Love, their compassion. And that's what we want, and we want to have that experience, so much so that the differences between us seem to fall away, or are so unimportant in the magnificence of that experience of the oneness, of the love, of the truth of what we are. And for people who've watched Bridging Heaven and Earth before, know that, you know, we've done this show year after year after year, show after show, and we've had all different kinds of people from all different walks of life, from all different traditions, young, old, black, white, red, yellow, green, I guess maybe not green, I would see that, but, and everyone, the root of everyone, because those are the people who we get drawn to, and we want to share their love on the set, and we want to share their love with you out there, is that somehow in their experiencing of their tradition, of their religion, of their Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, they've come into that experience of the infinite love of God. And in that, we are all one. We are all the same love. And tonight, again, we have somebody with us who has a certain tradition, who was born a certain way in a certain lifestyle, with a certain history. Maria Yraceburu is a spiritual teacher. She's a healer. She's a storyteller. She's a ceremonialist. She was born on a Native American reservation, the Apache reservation, I guess, the Quero Apache reservation. And yet somewhere, somehow in her longing to know truth, she came to know that universal love. And so while she writes about her experience, which came out of that tradition and that ceremony and that history, she's come to know the love that we all want. And we're just so delighted to have her here with us tonight. She's the author of at least 2 extraordinary books, probably I think 3 or 4, but the 2 that I'm more familiar with are Prayers and Meditations of the Quero Apache and Legends and Prophecies of the Quero Apache. But if you see the books, if you read the books, if you feel the vibration of the books, what you'll see is the book is about the love. That how do we get to the love? How do we go beyond tradition into that one family of humankind, that one family of connection, that one family of love? And again, that's what this show is about, to let us go one more step, 1 inch deeper into that knowing. And that's why Maria came, to share her gifts and her experience and her tradition and her ceremonies with us. It's only to open the door to love. And as we normally do, we have extraordinary music videos. I think we've shown them before. We were very fortunate. These are the videos of Kate Wolf. She was just gaining national recognition. She was repopularizing folk music in California and the whole United States before she passed away. She got cancer and then passed away reasonably quickly in 1986. And she's still a seminal figure. And when you hear her music, there's such a purity and love to her music. And so again, Bridging Heaven and Earth is in essence about love. And another spoke on the wheel to bring us to that center where we all live, where we all truly live. So as we normally do before Maria joins us, before we see the videos, let's just settle in. If you know how to meditate, join me in a short meditation. And then, you know, it's time to go deeper, to go more, to realize more, because we are that. We are made of love. That is it. So please join me in a short meditation and just relax, and then we'll start the show. Okay, so we're going to start tonight's show with a really magnificent song by Kate Wolf. It's called Give Yourself to Love, written and performed by Kate Wolf, and then Maria is going to be with us. Give Yourself to Love.
Kind friends all gather round, something I would say, but what brings us together here has blessed us all today. Love has made a circle that holds us all inside. The strangers are as family, loneliness can't hide. You must give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. I walk these mountains in the rain. I've learned to love the wind. Been up before the sunrise to watch the day begin. I always knew I'd find you, though I never did know how. Like sunshine on a cloudy day, you stand before me now. So give yourself to love, if love is what you're after. Open up your hearts to the tears and laughter, and give yourself to love. Give yourself to love. Love is born in fire, it's planted like the seed. And love can't give you everything, but it gives you what you need. And love comes when you are ready, love comes when you're afraid. Will be your greatest teacher, the best friend you have made. So give yourself to love,
the set with Maria. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you. This is exciting.
Yeah. So how did you learn to give yourself to love? I mean, I know that's what you're all about. How did, in your...
Yeah.
Start almost anywhere. I know it's a long story. But...
Well, I started out following my grandpa around, He was a holy man for the
And this
Apache
is on
tribe.
the Indian reservation?
On the Indian reservation. And I have to just back up and correct you just a little bit.
Oh.
I was actually born in Los Angeles.
Oh my God. It's like 5 hours.
And I went to live on the reservation when I was 2 weeks old.
I think that's a
So
good
I
enough
grew up
start,
there.
I would say. I wasn't that far off. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Following my grandpa around. I was brought up a traditional way where the grandparents raise the grandchildren while the parents go off and work. And my dad was in the service, and so I followed the old man around. He was 83 when I was born, and he was already in service to the people, doing ceremony, healing work. We also took care of the tribal horses, and I just, about from the time I could scramble around, we were hiking all over, picking herbs and learning how to do ceremony for that and praying so we'd know what to do for the various people he would work with.
So he was a healer.
Yes, he learned from his mother.
So there was a long history in your family?
Yeah,
right?
it's been generational. As far as I know, as far back as anybody can remember. My grandfather was a nephew to a medicine man in the late 1800s known as Nohwike, who was the prophet and the dreamer. And there was a time during the wars and the massacres and all of that where the people were coming forward with these dreams and visions of this time now that we're having. And actually, Wovoka, the Paiute prophet, came and studied with my great-great-uncle for a period of time. And out of all of that came the ghost dance. But what we learned from all of that was that the time would arrive in this time of no time between energetic paradigms where the children of our enemies, our ancestors would rise up again in the children of our enemies. And that kind of got turned around with the ghost dance after many, many tellings. And so it ended up in a lot of massacres at that time that the elders have been watching for the time. And when the 60s came about and all the hippies started coming to the reservations wanting to know what was going on and wearing their hair long and putting beads on, they saw that was one of the signs that they were looking for. And then we had the harmonic convergence, and in each sign that's come to pass, they've shared a little more.
That we're in a transition period from a time when separation and fear are more the way people are, into a time where cooperation and collaboration and love.
Yeah. So what we believe and what I was taught is that there's 7 different world paradigms that humanity will pass through. And we've been through what we call the 4th world of separation, and that's coming to an end. That actually has come to an end. We're in what we call the time of no time, a time of purification, where we're all learning that we have to come back to our grassroots. We have to come back to the spirituality. It doesn't matter what tradition you are, because if you boil it all down, we still all come from the premise of love. So one of the things that my grandpa taught me to do was not take the ceremonies of my people out into the world and teach those to others, but to teach them how to structure their own ceremony using some of the tools that we learned in our rituals so that they can reach their own. And a lot of the students that come and work with me, I've got several now that have gone back to their roots, and so they're studying the Sami tradition of Lapland and, various other, Druid, Celtic.
Yeah, all of them are coming together.
Yeah, it's all coming back up. And so what I find is my job is to remind people who they are, help them remember who they are, because it's all in our genetics. And we just have to tap into that.
And it's just the process of the human experiment, of the human condition that we've forgotten to some extent or another, all of us to one extent or another.
Yeah, and you know, everybody's familiar with the sense of deja vu. So what that is that's a lot of this past life stuff coming up because we found ourselves in similar circumstances. And so it's like triggering little things so that we'll dig deeper. And the energy, the planetary alignments and everything that are coming back are really promoting that as well.
So the energies almost coming to the planet are more heart-centered, more loving. So they're opening those centers in human beings, so we're more apt to...
Yeah. So in the elders, you know, it's funny because I just had a workshop and I was talking with a guy about the prophecies, and he kept wanting to take the prophecies into the negative element. And what I was taught about the prophecies was that prophecies tell us landmarks. They give us signs to watch for various things. But where we take a prophecy, it's usually vague and poetic, and everybody interprets it differently. So what I was taught was that if you're going to look for good, that's what you're going to find. And if you're going to look for bad, that's what you're going to find. They're just, you know, energy same. That's how it attracts. So if we're all out there projecting the good stuff, then we can turn it around and it's going to be a positive future. And since we're only, you know, we just finished up the 4th world and we're supposed to be in 7 worlds, well, you know, we got 2 more at least.
Right, and so the 5th one is the cleansing. And what's after that?
Well, we're doing this purification, and what's happening with the energies is that we're going into what's called the 5th world of peace. And a lot of our dormant abilities, you know, like the mental telepathy, the self-healing abilities, all of that's starting to come to pass. We're getting a lot more people that are clairsentient and clairaudient, you know, seeing spirits and being able to tap into their dreams and have lucid dreaming where they can actually determine the way that goes. And what we're finding is that, you know, once a person has that shift in perspective, then anything's possible because they open themselves up to everything that's invisible and intangible. And all of a sudden it becomes possible. And we're having a lot more people that are embracing that we can come together and we can find a commonality within our spiritual roots.
How can it be otherwise?
It can't be.
Right.
It can't be. Not if you want a planet and you want a future.
Well, not because they're all the same. We all, you know, we're all made of that
That's
same.
it. Yeah, we're all the same.
It's just where you pick a piece of infinity and say that's where it started,
That's
but
it.
actually
That's it. And you know, and in actuality, time only exists here on Earth because without gravity there is no time.
Right.
So
Or
it's an
space
illusion.
in that way.
Yeah.
So we make up all these.
It's it's like a combined agreement that we're going to come in here and this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
So if that's the way it's going to be, why can't we determine while we're here how we're going to change and shift it? You know, everybody talks about karma and stuff. Well, what is that if that's not us deciding and making a forward movement and creating our karma in every moment and being responsible with that and saying, okay, I choose to affirm life. I choose not to give energy to chaos, negativity,
drama,
fear. Yeah. Because there's only really one kind of fear, and that fear is, am I going to be physically hurt? And if it doesn't fall into the parameters, you better get out of the way of the steam engine, then it's not a real fear, it's an illusion. It's something that we've created within ourselves by all this disconnection, by this isolation that we've created within ourselves, that I have to be afraid of you, right? And you have to be afraid of me, because we come from 2 different backgrounds. Well,
actually, now that I found out you're a Valley girl, we're not that different. I always thought so, but now that you're a Valley girl, a 2-week Valley girl.
I'm not from the Valley, okay? I'm from Downey.
Right. Oh my God. I'm not claiming though. Right.
Well, 2 weeks. I know the hospital. That's
Right,
about it.
no.
But
That's the worst mistake I made this season. I'm good. You should hear. I don't know how I got the names, but usually I pronounce the names, especially like the Hindi names and stuff, like mashed potatoes. So I was hoping that I did better with you, and then it turned out I got your birthplace wrong. But only by
okay.
2 weeks.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're coming into that experience where more you travel all over and you do workshops and healing, and you see more and more people of all races, religions, ages, colors, traditions, spiritual, histories, coming into that place of what I would call oneness or love.
Right. Yeah, and
That's cool.
It does my heart good. I remember just 10 years ago walking down the street, and if I said hello to people on the street, they'd divert their eyes, they'd walk really fast past me. They didn't want any interchange. Now, people stop me on the street. We talk, and
Wow,
you say hello to people, and they
fantastic. Yeah,
smile,
I
they say hello
noticed
back. We're coming back to center. We're coming back to balance is what's happening. And if you look at the 7 worlds paradigm, what you're coming up with, it's kind of like, if you look at the week, you got hump day, Wednesday. So the 4th world of separation was really the all-time low for humanity, and we had to pull ourselves out of it. Are we going to sink to our deepest depths? And we used to have a joke when I was a kid about Mother Earth being a Scorpio, because all her cycles ran this gambit, and here a Scorpio has to, if you know astrology, has to go all the way down there into the deep, dark secrets, the good and the bad, and then they have to test all the waters out and then find their place in the middle of that and make it work. So what we're trying to do with the work that we're doing, and I say we because I work through an organization called Nohwike Bagowa, which means House of Our Footprints. And
House of Our Footprints.
House of Our Footprints. And that alludes to the fact that as we're walking on our good mother, we have to travel lightly, because we really want that harmony, that peace within ourselves and within our world. So what we're trying to do is, in my philosophy, everything's alive. The chair's alive, the trees are alive, the rocks are alive. The rock people were my first best friends, they'd be singing to me and talking to me. And then there's the animals, our animal guides. Animals are here to provide the confirmation from spirit that we're doing the right thing, or, hey, look, you need to be over here, paying attention to this. So there are enough things going on within this planet spiritually, if we acknowledge that everything has spirit, that we can get the direction that we need, and then it's up to us to do the footwork. So we work with the ley lines of the earth, and we recognize that just like the earth, we have these magnetic lines within ourselves. So we do a lot of work with the energies of the directions. And then we teach people how to tap those, how to recognize those. So that, like today, if I'm having trouble with my family, I'm going to know to face that southeast direction. And then I'm going to have all the northwest, which is the primal energy, the strength of the animal magnetism, that inner child, before we lost all the trust and innocence and all that stuff, that's going to be behind me, helping me with whatever this family situation is. So I know where to tap in for help, and I know where to turn to meet my confrontations. And I do that. I don't run away from my challenges. I see them as lessons for me to grow. And so I turn and I face them. And like I said, as long as I'm going to get hit by a Mack truck. Yeah.
With a certain procedure where like the wind is in your sails.
Right. So, you learn how to tack and all those things with the wind. And as long as I'm not going to get hit by a Mack truck, at that point I get out of the way. But
I would say that would be, instead of turning your body a little hair.
Yeah.
Well, it's, it's like, how do we learn discernment? When to hold them and when to fold them.
Yeah.
And that's part of, growing and coming more into harmony. So we know when disharmony's there.
Yeah.
You have to know what harmony is before you can really be clear on disharmony, or else everything's just a big mess. Yeah,
well, and there's another problem that is starting to be dissipate, because what we're taught is that we practice what's called non-interference. We can't help someone unless they ask for our opinion or our help. And so folks, they're out there doing all kinds of things, and these may be my kids, and I may be in love with them and wanting to spare them from all the things that I see that are going to happen to them. And yet those are the lessons they've chosen for themselves. I can't do that unless they come to me and say, hey, Mom, can you help me out here? So what we're seeing is, though, that a lot more people are having situations occur in their lives, like, they'll see a ghost, or, they have this dream, and it's like a repetitive dream, or they just have this deep feeling of emptiness inside of them that they haven't been able to fulfill with whatever they've been practicing in their lives. So, for some reason, Spirit will put right in front of them, something we're doing, and there they'll be. And at that moment, that doorway of communication is opened. and we can talk about it, and we can do things. We help them construct their own rituals and ceremonies so that they can arrive at a place where they see themselves as sacred. Because really, when we start seeing our own selves as sacred and start respecting ourselves and having healthy boundaries to where we can communicate and yet not crossing, cross-wiring to where I'm getting your guck and you're getting mine, then we are about the act of affirming life and creating life force that is affirming for the next 7 generations. And it's a big deal.
Yeah, sure.
And it's happening because you got people all over the world starting to come to this.
Yeah, we see that a lot. I mean, literally people come from all over the world who have slightly different stories on the earth plane, but basically it's coming into that root, one way or another.
Yeah, and we've been really excited. In the last few years, we've had the privilege of coming together with the Quero Incans, and which is another fulfilling prophecy, the eagle condor flying together again. So we've been doing workshops with people like Alberto Villalobos, and my uncle works with Oscar Quero Masada, and so that the Apache...
Alberto actually, he really wanted to come on the show this time. We didn't have any space. And one of his students we ended up booking before that, John English, who just wrote a book. He's coming on later in the year. So it seems like a lot of that particular energy seems to be coming forth. Because we're usually, whatever guests we book, that's the energy that seems to be rising up.
Well, and I'm really kind of amazed too, because in the last few years, in addition to doing that, we've been asked, like I'm doing presentations at the medical college down at UCSD. We're more involved with the Permaculture Institute up in Northern California now, teaching people how to work sustainably with the land. And so like all the old ways are starting to come back in, and it's like one of the most exciting times in history as far as I can see.
Yeah, I mean, we always think, like you were saying earlier, about time, but I mean the old ways are the new ways, and it's just how do we get harmony? Use all the modern tools, but use them harmoniously.
Right. And I think what that's taking is that we have to go back to go forward in some respects. We have to return to those earth philosophies. It doesn't mean let's throw out all the technology and all of that. It's like, but how are we going to use it? How are we going to use it? Yeah,
well, I think, we were talking earlier about coming into a harmony. So we would use everything in harmony. We treat everything with that love and respect. As, we would recognize that the dolphins are brothers and sisters. The tree, instead of, not that we never, cut a tree down, it's just that we would do it differently. And we see it happening all over. And after talking to people like you, it's just really exciting for us. So, and do you hold just traveling and do workshops and sweat lodges and all those kind of traditional type of things to? Yeah,
we do a lot of that. Ceremonial wise, what we do are what we call our diiyin, they're lunar festivals. We do sweat lodges and different things like Women's Moon Lodge, and I do all the life rites passages from birthing babies on up to crossing people over. But what we try to do is we'll do workshops in different areas, and we try to incorporate these lunar ceremonies because those are the ones that really tie us into the Earth's ley lines. And it's honoring the different energies that happen during the different cycles of the Earth. So we have 24 of those that we go out and do, and some are like 1 day, some are 7 day, and it brings people to that sense of recognizing what they need to do for themselves. There's a process involved in anything that we do. There's release work that we do, there's assimilation that we do, and there has to be celebration in what we do.
Yeah, it's got to be joyous
and
somewhere.
It's all got to be in there. It's all got to be in there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens a little sometimes, and quite often, religions or traditions, after a while, they lose the joy.
Right.
Because the experience of that love and that joy and of being alive, of being sacred and holy, it starts to become just a path of doing the tradition.
Right. Yeah.
And you even forget why you did them.
Yeah. So doing it the way my grandpa taught me, it allows us to be very, very flexible because we'll have like a format that we know we need to use to build the energy, but the rituals that we'll select to necessarily do that will be based on the energies of the people that gather. So it keeps it new and different each time.
Yeah, it's alive.
Yeah, and it becomes more like an interactive play kind of situation.
Yeah, a creative, collaborative explosion.
And that's what it has to be. It has to be co-created.
Right, exactly. So maybe what we'll do now is we'll go to the second video, the Kate Wolf music video. Again, we want to thank the Wolf family for giving us permission to show the Kate songs. They know how much we love them, and we're just really honored to be able to do that. So it's Brother Warrior, Kate Wolf.
Gentle warrior, with your heart like gold and a rainbow in your eyes. Brave companion, do you see a world shining in the sky? With your body dancing like an arrow, spreading joy beneath your feet, and your hands wave like tall grass in the wind as you speak, with the shyness of a small child and the wisdom of a sage. I tell you now, there is no reason to be afraid. Brother warrior, there are none of us who walk this path alone. Spirit healer is the only life that we have ever known. And I see your smile in the sunlight. I hear your songs in the rain, and I hold you inside me. Feel your love and know your pain. At this time when the earth is waking to the dawn of another age, I tell you now, there is no reason to be afraid. That all living things can share, and those who care are with us everywhere.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you again. So we're back with Maria. So you do a lot of interaction with young people, with children. Yes. Why don't you talk a little bit, because I know it means a lot to you.
Yeah. Right now my passion is instilling rites of passage again for kids. Native Americans traditionally are so great. We'll start, we'll celebrate anything really. But from the minute a kid's born, they have their first moccasin ceremony when they start walking. And as they're growing up, they're inducted into the societies and rites of passage, like Vision Quest, and the girl's coming out ceremony when she hits puberty. And it's just, I don't see that. And what I see is that the family in mainstream society around the world, not just here in America, has slowly disintegrated. With the parents splitting up or both parents working, and the kids are pretty much left out there floundering on their own. And in actuality, what my grandpa taught me was we have from the time a child is born until they hit puberty to instill everything we know. And then we pretty much have to turn it loose and just pray to God, Spirit, whatever you want to call that force, that we did the right thing and that they got it. And they're going to come out and they're going to be able to walk a good path that will make them a conscientious member of the community and yet find them fulfilled in their own life. And so we've started a program that we call Heartfire, which is 5 rites of passage, and we've been taking kids and putting them through this, and we're having great success. And the largest number of kids that we're having the success with are the ones that have been diagnosed ADD, bipolar, schizophrenic. And it's really kind of interesting because in the old days, Native America didn't have any what we call mental illness per se. I mean, if you heard voices when you were a kid, they started grooming you for priesthood. You learned how to discern what was fear and what was your actual spirit guides. So now you have all these kids that have been given this label, been put on medication because science doesn't know what to do with them. And yet they're the next step in evolution. They don't have that forgetfulness like we had when we came in our generation. They have a clearer channel. And yet because of what we've told them, because we don't...
That they're sick.
They're sick.
Instead of gifted, they're sick. Yeah.
And so they're taught that this is bad, this is evil, this is... They can't have that.
The work of the devil in some religions.
Yeah, so they try to stuff all that. And the rites of passages and the ritual that we teach them in the community that we provide for them helps them reach that realization that no, you do have a viable lifestyle. As long as you listen to this and you can tell what's fear and what's positive guidance, then you can determine your own future.
And how do people learn that after coming from a society that really is, it's a big mishmash with that?
Well, I'll tell you, anybody that tells you anything negative in your head, I would ignore.
It's a good start, right?
That's the best place to start. If they're telling you something positive and they're trying to affirm who you are and get you to look at empowerment,
yeah.
That's spirit guides. That's your higher self. However you want to choose to look, guardian angels, choose to look at it. And another thing is that the voices, okay? When we talk about the voices. Well, when I started hearing voices, I heard several. There's Nakia, who's the clan guardian, who's never been human in my lifetime. I have no knowledge of how he sounds. He talks in my voice. When I hear him in my head, it's my voice. But the speech pattern's different. The pronunciation's different. The guttural emphasis is different. It's not the way I talk. When I hear my grandpa in my head, who I have a physical reference for, I hear his voice. So it's like, when you talk to yourself, if you talk to yourself out loud, you're praying. You know, if you hear these voices in your head, well, we have different aspects of ourselves, and they each can talk to us and bring us knowledge and insight. And there is that one part, that ego fear, that will do anything to get us to self-sabotage by telling us you can't, you're stupid, whatever it can tell us, to belittle us so that we won't even try. And there's a lot of...
it just sucks the energy.
Yeah, and it does. It sucks the energy, and it sends us into depression to the point where we have chemical imbalances. I don't know of one young woman between the ages of 13 and 30 at this point that does not have an irregular menstrual cycle. And that's not right. That's not right. That's because we're so far out of balance with this planet and the lunar aspects. It should not be happening. And
there's tremendous disharmony.
And yet,
energetically, water.
Right.
Food,
when we get them back into ceremony, and they're starting to tap these energetic fields, they're coming back. The endometriosis is going down. They're not having the problems that they were having with the irregularity and the cramps and any of that. The young men, they're discovering that they have a cycle too. Males have a cycle just like women do. It's a 33-day cycle as opposed to a 28-day cycle, but it's still a cycle where you guys have your energetic low period. And all humans have an energetic low period during the day. If you look at when you were born and you look at your day, you can see and chart where your energy drops. And so that's when you should be taking your meditation time. That's when you should be nurturing yourself, not out there in chaos trying to run around and get things done.
Right. Everything becomes a concept rather than a living reality.
Right. And so as they learn to take care of themselves and have healthy boundaries and learn how to strip away that which is not theirs, the agenda of others that they bought into through the years, that they had to be in this little tight box, as they start to learn that they can be outside that box and operate without those labels.
And operate much lighter, much...
Right. Yeah, they're just doing magnificent things. I had a young man that's been studying with me for 2 years now that was diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic. And he started doing ceremony. He came to Sundance. He's been off his meds for a year now. He went out and he was looking for a job. And I told him, well, okay, you're into astronomy, you're into this, you're into that. Why aren't you applying for these jobs? And he said, oh, I could never get those jobs. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, where'd you get that thought from? And plus, I mean, so what happens if you get turned down? But you never know if you don't ask.
That's right. If you don't even try, you're never going to know. So he decided he would try. So he went out and he put in all these applications and he got his dream job, never thinking he would ever get it. And he works for a big planning company down in San Diego now. And he just did some big... what do they call it? When you do the city planning and it's to maximize the flow with the land. And he did
environmental impact.
Yeah, environmental impact stuff.
Yeah.
And so they did a 10-year study on how they were going to reintegrate San Diego County itself so it was back in flow with the harmonics of the land. And they just won this huge award from worldwide competition for this. And he was a major in that project. And so this kid's like flying high right now because everything that he was told about himself that he would never amount to, he has far surpassed that. In any expectations. And now
he was so self-limiting that it's unbelievable.
And so now he has no expectations. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. Now, it doesn't mean he doesn't have his low days, but he now knows how to deal with that. And he feels empowered that he can handle that himself.
No, a certain level of wall was broken down. The prison's bigger.
Right.
And if the prison, if the prison walls can keep getting bigger and bigger, who knows what happens.
Exactly. So that's my big passion. And my youngest son, he's a behavioral specialist for youth at risk programs. So we've got a grant writer that's now on the project. And we're getting ready to actually take this into some of the counties here in California and try to put it into effect there and see how far we can take it. Grab some of these kids at a little younger age, because I've been working with the primarily late teens, early 20s, and we want to get it back down to the level.
And you want to go through like traditional channels, schools even, and that'd be great.
Yeah.
And does it seem to you like traditional channels are open to it, or these kids are throwaways, they'll give them to you anyhow? Yeah,
we actually have heard from some tribes back east, and the Eastern tribes really, all the tribes had it really bad about our religions and stuff, but the Eastern tribes had it much harsher than, say, west of the Mississippi, because they had it for 100 years more than the rest of us had it. So there are tribes back there that have no cognizant memory of their tradition. So
they think their tradition's out of a casino or something.
Yes.
More or less.
Exactly. So
that must be blissful.
We've gotten contacted by tribes in Connecticut and New York, Maine.
It's interesting because we've talked about this on the show and other places that it's surprising to me with all the the interest in the casinos and all the money that's coming into the American Indian community, why a lot of it isn't being funneled into health plans and these kind of traditional way plans. And I think think it's going to take some time for that to work its way through too.
You know, I think it kind of depends on the tribe itself, because that is happening in some places.
It is happening.
On my
hope
reservation, our casino, which I think is the ugliest building I ever saw, just for the record, okay? But they have built this huge health clinic.
Oh, they have done.
Yeah, and the schools, they're building schools, and we're trying incorporating the money back into the tribe so that we can have more jobs. Because even with the casino and the industries that we have, and we're considered a fairly good tribe for status on unemployment, and our unemployment is still at like 60%.
That's pretty high.
You know, so it's like
that makes for bad interactions with alcohol and a lot of things.
That's it. You know, I mean, I remember 20 years ago going home, and our kids, the alcohol rate was starting at 8, 9 years old, and by the time they were hitting puberty, 13, 14 years old, they couldn't get the alcohol for themselves. They were drinking antifreeze to get high.
Yeah,
you know,
brutal.
We had babies being born without brains, cancer in our kids before they were even childbearing years.
Gets so whacked.
So so there's a lot of that the money from the casinos is really helping.
Wow,
is really
fantastic.
helping.
Do you find that, you know, like for projects like you're talking about here, that money is available to become involved that way and to bring?
You know, not so far.
Because it would seem like there's enormous sums of it, and you're probably not even asking for that much.
I don't know. A friend of mine told me that they saw a big lump of change coming our way for the program from one of the casinos, but I don't know.
It seems like it, you know.
We'll see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, you know, it kind of has, if you watch the tribes, it kind of depends, because you also have reservations where this kind of stuff's not happening. The housing is not improving, and basically everybody's getting their money, but they're going out and buying a new car every year, and the kids are just drinking. So
I know.
the
it takes
jobs
a while to
have to
change the momentum.
Yeah, the jobs have to come into force. There has to be something that stimulates them. And I think that's why it's so important to go back to the traditional ways, because they need to find who they are.
Right. Yeah, it's just, they don't, it's just a big mess, I think, for a lot of people.
Right.
You know, and then, you know, we've talked about, then you get to the root that, you know, I'm an Apache, and then you get to the then what's the root before that? You know, that you're a human being. What's the root before? You know, that you're a spirit. What's, you know, that you're God. Right. You know, that the Father and I, the Goddess and I are one. I mean, so. Yeah. You know, which tradition do we want to stop at?
Right. Yeah.
Well, we don't really want to stop at any of them.
Yeah, we have a saying that well, you know, Turtle Island, the United States, North America, South America, at one time was all connected to Europe and all of Africa and all of that, and then they were split apart. And at that time, Creator said, split me into 4 and travel to the 4 directions. When the signs are right, come back together and bring me whole. And that's what's happening right now.
Right. And you wanted to do also, we talked about this earlier, some Apache closing or a healing ceremony?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to share a little prayer. It's called our First Prayer of Life, and we use it for almost every ceremony. There's actually 64 of them, and it's just a simple little thing, and it's Negotsin Alwazana, Yal Alwazana, Dalitse Degoyana, Negotsin Ilditsi, Pino Ichkase, Shishi Yukahi, Diane. And that means I come from the Earth Mother, I come from the Sky Father, I come into this circle to be all that I can be. I am all my relations. And this is my prayer, and I am grateful. And so it is. I hope.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time we've had Apache on the show, so it's exciting.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So you do these ceremonies, and your passion at this point is, you know, it's interesting because I really, literally 3 or 4 guests recently have talked about, who've been healers for a long time and psychics, and, you know, just gone around and written books, and their passion seems to be working with children and getting people before they get so disharmonized, so in a bad momentum, and so into alcohol and drugs, and from all the cultures, you know, in all the countries, and that, you know, that must be like a real trend that's happening, is that we're all trying to, you know, get get closer to the root.
I think
it
so.
doesn't-
I think so. Well, we have to invest in the kids. They are our future. And, for so long now, we've been putting them on the back burner. We send them off to school, and then they come home and they watch TV or they play video games or whatever. But pretty much we don't have a lot of interaction with our kids anymore. And that's been changing over the last few years. But I know even when I had my kids, both parents had to work to supply an income and give them a house, a roof over their head, because something's got to happen to the financial structure that's going on. That's got to shift here pretty soon too, because it's just outrageous. People can't make a living. We've gotten so disconnected from everything, the food that we eat. How many people say a prayer over their food anymore? We're all in such a big hurry. Do we actually all sit down and eat together? Do we actually talk to each other? Or is the TV set going while we're doing it? So it's isolation that needs to be healed, the disconnection.
Yeah, we talk about healing the heart, healing the connection, healing the fact that we're all one.
Yeah, and everybody's pulled all their heart energy into that chakra, and kind of closed it down because we think, to not get hurt, I got to pull it all the way in. Well, no, that just keeps compounding the hurt, to the 20th power or whatever. It's by opening our heart and sending it out there that we heal. And
well, really, we want to, we've talked about this a lot, we want to feel love and share it.
Yeah.
What's the point otherwise?
Yeah.
It's not to be rich, it's not to, have a certain tradition, it's not to be a good Christian or a good Buddhist or a good Jew or, good anything. It's to feel love and share it.
Yeah. And the whole thing about that feeling love and sharing, though, is that we have to do it without expectation.
Right.
Because if we do it, if we're expecting something back, like they have to love us or they have to do something, then we're always going to be disappointed. But if we're doing it because I feel such tremendous love in my heart for you, Alan, I just want to do this for you. Then what's going to happen is it's going to come back tenfold. Maybe not from you, but from 10 other people.
It starts that energy cycling.
The greatest movie that I think was ever made was Pay It Forward. I think that's spectacular. Whoever wrote that thought Indian, okay? Because it's definitely the premise.
It's part of everything. That, treat others as you want to be treated. It's it's at the root of a lot of the experiences that people had. We talk about that a lot. Is we try to as part of an organization, the Bridging Heaven Earth Foundation. Really, the three things we talk about is that it's infinite, it's inclusive. And, in terms of human manifestation, to treat others as we'd like to be treated. Right. And that would be a fairly good start in,
that would be it. Yeah. Help somebody if you can. If it's within your power, do it.
Right. Yeah. And so you see in your travels and all your ways around that is really, there's a momentum building for that in all cultures and all religions with all peoples, is that hunger is driving people to know that root.
Yes. Yeah. I see it. And I mean, in the course of 6 months, we have an internet newsletter that we started, a long time ago. But in the course of 6 months, in 1999, we went from 2,000 subscribers to over 450,000 worldwide.
Wow, 450,000 is a lot of subscribers.
So it blew me away.
Boy, if you ask them for $1 a piece, you could have their center set up. Now, there's a plan.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big subscription list, I would say. That's fantastic. In 6 months from 2000?
In 6 months.
Wow, what are you offering on there? I didn't see it. No, I was just kidding. That's fantastic.
You get it, know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is really wonderful. So if that grows exponentially, you can start running for office.
Oh, no, thank you.
No. It's not where you belong. Not yet. We're not ready to have that
I was political once. It didn't work for me.
Oh, I know. A lot of people didn't really work. Yeah, so, we're tremendously excited. I mean, you heard at the meeting, just the level of people that are coming in, doing the show of all different religions and traditions and
it's
healers
great.
and psychics and.
I think it's great. Yeah, I did some checking. I went on the internet before we came on, and I was checking areas about where you are and where you aren't. So when I get back up to Northern California, I'm going to be talking to Blue Street to all the stations.
Right.
You guys really need this.
Right. Yeah, and we get to 450,000 stations.
There you go.
If everyone on your list does.
There you
that.
go. You guys petition your local station.
Actually, I don't. You get Gloria from Heaven Letters who's coming on later
Yeah.
in the year. She did that in her newsletter, but I don't think she's got 450,000 on it. So I think surprisingly enough, we're coming to the end of the show. So we've done it again, and really, it's all about the love. You know it. We know it. Whatever words you use, whatever place on the wheel you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really at the center. It's really at the heart, and we all know that. We all want to be there. And there's really, like Maria said over and over again, there's nothing stopping us except our illusion about that there is something stopping us. So, and the more we all do that, the more it's going to happen. So, as we normally say, if you want any information about Maria, about Kate's music, you can go to the Bridging website. You can call me, Alan, 805-687-2053, 805-687-2053. Good night. We love you. Let's go to the love. All right? Good night.